Bonjour, je suis Anne-Élisabeth Thibault, directrice générale de Pointe-à-Calière, Cité d'archéologie et d'histoire de Montréal. C'est avec plaisir que je vous transmets quelques mots sur l'exposition Reine d'Égypte. L'exposition est née du partenariat en 2018 avec le Museo Egidio de Turin en Italie, qui détient l'une des plus grandes collections égyptiennes au monde. Avec cette exposition, Pointe-à-Calière a souhaité poser un regard original sur l'Égypte antique en prenant pour angle les femmes et le pouvoir au féminin. Grâce aux reconstitutions 3D immersives réalisées avec le studio montréalais Ubisoft, le visiteur aura l'impression d'entrer dans le temple, le palais, le harem, le village des artisans des tombes royales, la vallée des reines et finalement la tombe de Néfertari. En tant que producteur de la tournée nord-américaine, Pointe-à-Calière est enchanté de la collaboration entre nos institutions pour la présentation de l'exposition au Musée canadien de l'histoire. Je vous souhaite tout le succès possible avec cette exposition événement à ne pas manquer cet été.
Hello and welcome to the Canadian Museum of History. For the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be your host as we open our new exhibition, Queens of Egypt. Join me on a journey into the heart of one of the world's most fascinating ancient civilizations. Before we continue, it's important to talk about where I'm standing. The Museum of History is in Gatineau, Quebec, at the meeting place of Three Rivers, on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe. For those of you joining us today, from close by or from far away, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional inhabitants and guardians of these lands. I am pleased to invite our new chairperson of the Board of Trustees, Ms. Carole Beaulieu, to say a few words.
Thank you, Caroline. What a pleasure it is to join you today, and to join all of you who are tuning in from near and far as we celebrate the launch of this incredible exhibition. I was delighted to have recently been appointed as chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the museum, an institution I have long admired. I am also joining the museum family at an important moment. I was thrilled when I discovered that my first official engagement as chairperson was to take part in opening Queens of Egypt. An important part of our mandate is to bring world histories and cultures to Canadians, fostering a greater understanding of our world and of the diverse cultures that make up our Canadian society. I know I am not alone in eagerly awaiting the opening of this exhibition, and I look forward to people having the opportunity to experience these incredible objects and stories for themselves, either in person or through the digital offerings available through the museum's website. Whether you have a long-standing interest in ancient Egyptian history, or if this is your first introduction, there is truly something for everyone. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Carole. I'm pleased to say that as of June 2nd, we will reopen the museum to visitors. Of course, we have lots of new practices to help keep you safe. We're here tonight to open the highly anticipated new exhibition, Queens of Egypt. As many of you probably know, we had originally hoped to open this exhibition last summer, but COVID-19 meant we had to adapt our plans. And while we still face restrictions on the number of visitors we can welcome at a time, I can't tell you how thrilled we are at the prospect of seeing you on site for this outstanding exhibition. But for now, more on your visit. When you enter the exhibition, you'll be stepping back 3,500 years in time to a world of women rulers, business owners, religious leaders, and even a female pharaoh. Digital environments take you into the heart of a harem, a throne room, and even a tomb. and more than 300 priceless artifacts reveal what daily life was like along the banks of the Nile. Before we have a look at some of those artifacts, let's learn more about where the exhibition began, in Italy. The short clip you're about to see features Christian Greco, director of the Museo Egizio in Turin.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be with you today, even though only virtually, and to present the collections of the Museo Egizio. In this slide, you see a picture, a rendering actually, of our museum. We are housed in a very important Baroque building in the city center of Turin, and the museum occupies 4 floors of these Baroque buildings. And it was in 1824 that it became the Museo Egizio. Well, if 1824 is the start of our museum, the date of its foundation, is 1894 another very important date. It is the moment when Ernesto Schiaparelli became director of the museum. We are exactly 70 years after the foundation of the museum. We are on the 15th of February 1906. The workmen of Schiaparelli found the opening. This opening is the opening of a shaft. It's 8.50 meters. At the end of the shaft, there are stairs. And at the end of the stairs, there are stones blocking the passage. Then a second corridor blocked again by stones. And when he took them away, he found a door. And he realized that the door was still sealed. He realized that for the first time after 3,500 years, he was entering a completely full burial chamber, and he was rediscovering the burial chamber how it was left 3,500 years before. So he found there the sarcophagus of Ra still covered by this linen, the sarcophagus of Merit also still covered, and all the objects, the burial offerings that the couple brought with them in the burial chamber in order to assure them all what they needed to live forever. This is a rendering of the drawing that Schiaparelli made for His Majesty.
That was a great introduction to Museo Egizio and its important collection. If you'd like to see the full video conference featuring Mr. Greco, be sure to visit our website. And now, for a look at some of the artifacts you'll be able to see when you visit.
Here we are at the entrance of the Queens of Egypt exhibition. The Queens of Egypt featured in the exhibition were mothers, great royal wives, secondary wives or concubines of pharaohs, or sisters or daughters of pharaohs, some of which became their wives. Many of these royal women had considerable influence and played important military, political, diplomatic, or religious roles. Some of them even became pharaohs themselves. The exhibition focuses on 7 queens who lived in the New Kingdom period from 1539 to 1076 BC, during which the Egyptian civilization reached its height and queens gained in status and influence. The exhibition also focuses on the region of Thebes, now Luxor, the New Kingdom's primary center of power. The visit begins on the east bank of the Nile, with 3 places where queens exerted influence: a royal palace, a temple, and a harem. Then we cross the Nile to visit 3 other places: the Valley of the Queens, where many royal women were buried, the village where the artisans who built the tombs lived, and Queen Nefertari's tomb. The statue at the beginning of the exhibition depicts the goddess Mut, wife of the sun god Amun-Ra. As wives of the pharaohs, who themselves represented the divine on earth, the queens of Egypt were often closely associated with this goddess. In fact, one of the queens featured in the exhibition, Nefertari, was called the Beloved of Mut. The palace is presented in this section of the exhibition. This is where the pharaoh and his great royal wife lived, and where an army of officials dealt with affairs of the state. The pharaoh, who embodied the son of the god Horus on earth, was the mediator between humans and the deities. He kept the world in balance by triumphing over the forces of chaos thus ensuring the kingdom's stability and prosperity. As mothers or wives of the king, who was of divine nature, queens were often associated with goddesses such as Isis, Mut, and Hathor, themselves divine mothers or wives. Taking advantage of this status, several queens played a major political role by strengthening alliances useful to Egypt, exercising power as regents of princes who were too young to reign, or taking part in delicate negotiations. And, even though the position of pharaoh was officially male, sometimes it was a woman who ascended to the throne. 7 of these powerful queens are presented in this section: Ahmose Nefertari, Hatshepsut, Tiya, Nefertiti, Tuya, Nefertari, and Isetnofret. This polychrome wood figurine depicts Ahmose Nefertari, the first queen of the New Kingdom and one of the most influential. She was the first queen to officially fulfill the role of God's wife of Amun. Because her son, the pharaoh Amenhotep I, founded the village of Deir el-Medina for the laborers and craftsmen who worked on the royal tombs, after her death, Ahmose Nefertari was worshipped by the inhabitants of the village as a protector of the community. Located near Deir el-Medina, the Valley of the Queens is where several royal women of the New Kingdom period were buried deep in tombs dug into the mountain. The exceptional objects displayed in this section of the exhibition will help you discover ancient Egyptian funeral rites and the perilous journey that queens, princes, and princesses undertook to gain eternal life. The main steps in the mummification process are described here. For example, you will see instruments and products, the hook used to break a bone in the nose and extract the brain very gently so as not to damage the face, the flint embalmer's knife, used to make an incision in the left side of the body to remove the lungs and viscera, resin in liquid form, used to disinfect the body, natron, to dry out the flesh and prevent decomposition, meters upon meters of linen strips used to wrap the body, and canopic jars in which the deceased's liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines were kept. Also found in this section is a typical noble's tomb, which includes a coffin lid, a false lid, an outer coffin, a mummy mask, protective amulets, and jewelry. This section of the exhibition presents Nefertari's tomb, which her husband, Ramses II, had built for his favorite great royal wife, who he also honored with a temple at Abu Simbel in southern Egypt. As with the vast majority of royal tombs, Nefertari's was looted in ancient times. It contained only a few objects when it was discovered, including sandals and, notably, the lid of the queen's coffin. Visitors who enter this space can admire the objects and see a multimedia presentation about the journey undertaken by Nefertari to reach the realm of the dead, and, by doing so, gain eternal life. The tomb's hieroglyphic texts and frescoes describe that journey. The desire for eternal life is expressed in Nefertari's prayer to Nut, the goddess of the sky, which is carved on her coffin's lid.
O Mother Nut, stretch yourself above me, that I may be set in the midst of the eternal stars within you, and that I may never die.
I hope you've enjoyed this short tour as much as I did, but seeing it like this is nothing like seeing it in real life, and we can't wait to welcome you on site. An exhibition like this is also an example of international cooperation in action. In this case, between Canada, Italy, and Egypt. Getting to this stage has been something of a challenge. At one point, the artifacts were stuck in quarantine in the United States. And on top of that, the installation teams coming from Italy to help us set up the exhibition couldn't get here because of travel restrictions. However, it all came together beautifully thanks to the dedication of the museum professionals. Teams in both Canada and Europe had to work via Zoom. It was quite a sight to see. One very exciting aspect of this exhibition has been our partnership with the Museo Egizio and CCI. the Canadian Conservation Institute. This summer, CCI will use its cutting-edge technologies to assess some of the exhibition's artifacts. The results of these tests will help identify objects that are at high risk of damage from exposure to light, and will also help identify the pigment and binder material. CCI is one of only a handful of facilities in the world that can carry out certain types of tests, and so we're thrilled about this partnership and what it means for artifact conservation in the future. Here are His Excellency Ahmed Abu Zaid, Ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt to Canada, and Mr. Benedetto Gaetano, First Secretary of the Embassy of Italy to Canada, to say a few words about this exhibition and its importance.
Dear friends, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the Queens of Egypt exhibition, a unique opportunity to cross paths with a groundbreaking and fascinating civilization that captured the mind, heart, and imagination of humanity for 7,000 years. The Queens of Egypt exhibition is not only a journey into a captivating past, but also a projection into a yet unattained future. In a time where societies around the world struggle to achieve higher level of gender equality and women inclusion, we will tell you the story of female leaders in ancient Egypt, when women ruled the world. You will come closer to the marvels of crafts and designs that embody notions of beauty, excellence, and resilience. I hope that you will enjoy the treasures Queens of Egypt brings to you in the very heart of the Canadian capital, Ottawa. Thank you to the Canadian Museum of History for ensuring that this exhibition is open to the public despite existing challenges. A timely reminder of the power of culture as a bridge between nations and an embodiment of friendship between Egypt and Canada. I invite you to enjoy the Queens of Egypt.
Bonjour à tous. My name is Benedetto Gaetano, and I'm very happy to be here today on behalf of the Italian Ambassador Designate Andrea Ferrari at the opening of Queens of Egypt. The exhibition is hosted by the Canadian Museum of History for the summer. It will allow us to immerse ourselves in the past and learn more about the extraordinary civilization of ancient Egypt. Créé en collaboration avec le Musée égyptien de Torino, le premier musée au monde dédié à la culture égyptienne, fondé en 1824. Cette exposition fascinante nous transporte plus de 3000 ans dans le passé et nous présente cette reine d'Égypte, y compris la légendaire Néfertiti. Par leur histoire remarquable, nous comprenons le rôle important des femmes dans la civilisation égyptienne. Chacune d'elles est plus qu'un précurseur, et toutes ont été des figures d'influence qui ont fait des contributions importantes à la société complexe de l'époque. Being able to have these outstanding objects here at the National Capital Region further underscores the universal heritage of art. And we are very glad that at this time of limited travel, our friends and lovers of ancient history in Canada will be able to experience the thrills and emotion of ancient Egypt.
Thank you, Your Excellency and Mr. Gaetano. There's obviously much to see when you visit. And on top of the exhibition itself, we also have lots of socially distanced programming to offer, including family activities that involve amulets and crowns and a special activity space called Mission Nefertari, where families embark on a special assignment led by the magical cat Nebet, Queen Nefertari's loyal servant. If you aren't able to join us in person, we have a lineup of programming that you access on our website, including a behind-the-scenes look at the exhibition and virtual live conferences on related topics. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Pointe-à-Calière, Montreal Archaeology and History Complex, for developing this wonderful exhibition in collaboration with Museo Egizio. Be sure to check the Queens of Egypt webpage and social media for more on these and other upcoming activities. Before I leave, I would like to thank you for being with us this evening. We hope to see you in person at our museum soon. Queens of Egypt opens on June 2nd, 2021. For more details about the exhibition and related activities, and to purchase your ticket, head to the museum's website.